Police tell us they've been working to strengthen relationships in the community surrounding this barbershop, and they're focusing on this corridor right here along Beatties Ford Road from Brookshire Freeway to Capps Hill Road. It's known as a hotspot for crime. But let's show you again this scene right here. Police have the street blocked off because they say it happened in that intersection, and they're keeping us a little ways away because they don't want anyone to trample over any evidence. They've got markers down where they are counting shell casings, and again, their focus right now is tracking down the suspect in this shooting. Eric, and they're using the driver's tire marks to try and learn more about what could have caused this crash. They tell us she started in the left lane, then something happened that made her cross the interstate. Then they say she hit this guardrail and flipped her SUV. I read through the stack of documents inside. The U.S. Attorney's Office says it did not violate Jamel Curtin's rights while searching through his jail cell, but they did include some never-before-seen details about the robbery. We just spoke to the battalion chief. He tells us that it took 47 minutes from the time crews got the call to leave the station, travel up the mountain, and get to that victim. This is part of the reason. He says crews were carrying bags like this. It carries their rope and climbing gear. This is 48 pounds. I asked the senator what he learned in 2012 that he's relying on now, and he told me that instead of focusing on his opponents this time around, he's using all of his energy to lay out his vision for America. Well, last week we reported about the release of a woman accused of assault with intent to kill. Today, we obtained these documents detailing how another woman accused of selling drugs to officers was also released without bond. The sheriff wrote a letter to commissioners about both. This is the home authorities say Alexis Caldwell operated as a drug house. Caldwell was busted along with dozens of accused drug dealers April 20th. 2 days later, she was out of jail without paying one dime of her $75,000 bond.
I wouldn't want a drug dealer in the neighborhood for the fact anything could go down.
Channel 9 has covered residents' concerns over the pretrial program that secured Caldwell's release. In April, we reported the county contracted with appropriate placement options to identify inmates for release as part of the county's plan to ease jail overcrowding. APO also recommended Diamond Eggleston walk free.
It was shocking.
Eggleston faces charges in a violent stabbing that happened a few feet from where Samantha Anderson's children play.
My niece has seen it all, seen the man come out bloody and everything. And kids shouldn't have to see that.
A week after we reported on Eggleston's release, commissioners voted to terminate their contract with APO.
I'm happy because people that are violent offenders don't need to be out on the streets.
County leaders say they never intended for people accused of high-level felonies to be released. APO won't take any new cases, but for now, Eggleston and Caldwell will remain free. Now, we have asked how many people have gone through this program. We're told the county is still tallying April's numbers, but in March, 53 people total were processed through the jail reduction program, 6 of them through appropriate placement options. Now, we have called and emailed the directors of that agency, and we have not heard back. Live in Iredell County, Brittney Johnson, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
Over there is the roof.
It took Charlie Williams 3 years to get his family into their new home, and a few minutes for a storm to blow it all away.
It was devastating. I mean, you work so hard to get a new house and it's there and you're moving in. It's devastating. I mean,
Charlie and Mandy had just finished placing their furniture inside when they noticed the blue sky fade.
You could see just real dark clouds and it looked like it was turning. And I told my wife, I said, this ain't gonna be good.
They rushed next door to Mandy's mother's home.
We took the kids and threw them in the closet and the dogs in the closet and looked out, and it was black.
Authorities say the same winds ripped apart a barn, toppled trees, power lines, and playground equipment at Livonia Baptist Church.
I don't even know where my couches are. I didn't even see them.
yeah,
The floor is right over there, and you can see where the living room was.
Grayson bought this land so her kids and grandkids would move closer. As it turned out, being just a few feet away from her home saved their lives.
That's the worst, we're good.
Brittney Johnson, Channel 9 Eyewitness News at 10.
I'm a barber, you know what I'm saying? So it kind of put me on alert.
When Omar Lanier learned of a shooting inside this barber shop roughly 2 miles away, he had one question.
Was it an incident that was provoked or was it just a random incident?
Victims told police 2 men came inside Thursday night, demanded the barber's property, stole his car, and shot him in the leg. Right now, police believe the victim knew the men who shot him, saying this is not a random crime. But since there were customers inside, including a 5-year-old, it's still a major concern. In February, police told Channel 9 they're cracking down on violent crimes, focusing on robberies and assaults along Beatties Ford Road.
We made some strides, but again, crime is everywhere in our city.
The head of the Metro Division says their relationships with City Councilman Al Austin and neighborhood associations are key to improving communication and reducing crime along this corridor. Lanier Shop is also part of a coalition of barbers working with police.
When they do see strange activity around certain businesses, that they are inquiring with the management and that they will take necessary steps to try to prevent anything from happening.
Last year, the Metro Division ranked #1 in crime reduction 10 out of 12 months. Austin's challenge is maintaining that trend.
I don't want people to get the wrong impression about Beatties Ford Road. This is a great community. We just have a few knuckleheads who are trying to take it a different way.
City Councilman Al Austin tells us that in addition to connecting community members with law enforcement, they've added lighting right here along Beatties Ford Road. He says that's made it easier for people to report suspicious activity. In Northwest Charlotte, Brittney Johnson, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
There are 20,000 registered sex offenders in North Carolina. That number has doubled in the last decade.
Now local deputies say some of them are slipping through the cracks. Eyewitness News reporter Brittney Johnson investigated how a legal loophole is keeping law enforcement from tracking them down.
It's just after 4 in the morning, and Deputy David Price is checking whether Iredell County sex offenders live where they say they do.
Anything changed with you?
He and his partner cover nearly 600 square miles, monitoring more than 200 offenders.
If you got kids, then you should be concerned about it. You should definitely want me out here checking them.
Price estimates he brings charges against at least 4 offenders each month for failing to comply with residency requirements. He says he could arrest more, but he says gaps in the state's monitoring requirements prevent that.
Apparently, for some reason, you can go completely out of state and work in another state, and you don't have to tell us anything. We can't do anything to you.
He's talking about this statute that says if an offender goes to another county for more than 10 days out of the month, they must notify the sheriff's office, but no notification is required if they leave the state.
All of a sudden, you're unaccounted for completely. They don't know you're there, and we don't know you're gone.
We rode along as Price knocked on doors, but couldn't find 3 sex offenders at their registered homes. He told us he's checked on one man 14 times and never made contact. We found there is nothing that allows Price to charge offenders who aren't home during random visits, no matter how many times an officer checks.
That's a huge problem.
Victims advocate Chris Taylor says monitoring requirements are confusing and hard on victims' families.
If sex offender registry rules are different from state to state or monitor different county to county, then it can be really hard for parents to understand, again, how to keep their children safe.
Is this a priority?
I think it's always a priority when you're involving the safety of children.
We took Price's concerns to State Senator Jeff Tart, who worked to strengthen laws protecting sex trafficking victims in 2013. He told me he didn't know about officers' concerns regarding the monitoring gaps.
And that's obviously a huge problem if that's occurring. I wasn't aware of it, and I think most law makers, legislators would not recognize that exists.
He told me if officers presented the problems along with possible solutions, he would work to tweak the laws to help deputies like Price better protect their communities.
Interest of public safety, we need to know where these type of people are.
In Iredell County, Brittney Johnson, Channel 9 Eyewitness News. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Brittney Johnson. I am here in Severe Weather Center 9, where meteorologist John Aaron says the storm threat isn't over yet. On Eyewitness News at 6, John told you that parts of our area got hit with 100 lightning strikes within a 10-minute period. Well, new tonight, we're getting a look at the damage left behind. We're learning more tonight about the final arrangements for one of the victims of the Charleston church shootings. The casket of Reverend Clementa Pinckney will be at the State House for public viewing on Wednesday afternoon. Tonight, protesters are calling for South Carolina lawmakers to take down this Confederate flag that flies above the State House. Some say it's a symbol of hate and segregation. Breaking first at 11. Deputies are investigating a shooting in Burke County. Eyewitness News reporter Dave Faraday broke the story on Twitter in the past 2 hours. And reporter Alexa Ashwell spoke with investigators within the past 30 minutes. Alexa, what can you tell us? Today, across the nation, bells tolled, people flooded churches, and even gathered on the Ravenel Bridge in Charleston. They all prayed for peace following the Charleston church shootings. At a vigil in the past 2 hours in Salisbury, people said the tragedy highlights the problems in their own community. The brother of one of the shooting victims says he feels joy for his sister tonight. Cynthia Hurd would have turned 55 today. Read more about the victims. Just look for our special section. We've now learned the final arrangements for a postal worker killed during yesterday's storms. Deputies say a tree fell on Lisa Wilkerson's mail truck yesterday in Denver. Police are now searching an area near the Pennsylvania border after a possible sighting of 2 convicted killers who escaped from prison. Investigators say they got a tip in Allegheny County, more than 350 miles from the prison where they broke out. The Red Cross is now helping 2 families tonight after this house fire in Salisbury. The homeowner told Channel 9 a problem with the stove sparked the fire on East Liberty Street. You can see the burn marks and the holes firefighters cut in the roof. Tonight, investigators in New Orleans are trying to figure out where a suspect got the gun used to kill an officer. Tonight, investigators are trying to figure out what caused a bizarre and deadly crash in Newton. Police say the driver of this tractor trailer lost control on Highway 10 and slammed right into a Toyota Yaris. There is no word tonight on how the truck driver is doing, and police are waiting to release his name until they can notify out-of-state family members. Well, dozens of people have left their condolences for the victims' families. You can do so too. Just look for this story on our Facebook page. Tomorrow, Charlotte City Council is expected to recognize CMPD Chief Rodney Monroe. Monroe announced last month he's retiring after 7 years with the department. New at 11, a Concord man is behind bars accused of 2 robberies in the same day. Tonight, we're asking police if they have made any arrest after a stabbing in South Park. It happened this morning at the Marriott Residence Inn on Piedmont Road Drive. Police say 1 person went to the hospital, but he is expected to be okay. There's no word on what led up to that stabbing. Keeping you safe on the Catawba River, the potentially life-saving navigation devices one couple is pushing for 1 day after a kayaker drowned. Plus, a local police officer on vacation stopped a burglary in progress, the activity he noticed that tipped him off to the crime.